All right, excellent. I think we're live. Yuliya Gorenko of Mishka Agency. I'm so excited to do this podcast interview with you today. We're going to talk about influencer marketing. Hey, Yuliya, why don't you quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you, Chris. And I'm happy we finally get to do this recording. My name is Yuliya. I am a part of Mishka Agency. It's a performance-focused influencer marketing agency. We've been around for probably about 5 years now. Before, starting the company, before starting the agency, I used to work on the brand side as an in-house brand marketer for many years, running in-house campaigns on the PR side, on the social media side, also doing some brand marketing stuff. I used to work for L'Oreal for about 4 years and then kind of transitioned into the world of technology and started to work with a lot of tech companies, both consumer software and B2B. I probably, up to this point, probably have worked with way over 100 brands. I don't even know how many, to be honest, but way over 100, and mostly large brands. So it's either like nationwide US companies or even like companies that offer their products or services globally.
Awesome. And then, so we actually just met finally for the first time in person at DigiMarcon in Seattle. Before we tell our story, how we initially connected, what in the world is influencer marketing? If you had to explain it to your mom or your grandmother, how would you do that in very simple terms?
I think, people think about influencer marketing that it's something it's like very modern, that it's maybe like relatively recent, but it's not. The whole idea of influencing is as old as our civilization. There have always been influential personalities. Maybe in the pre-internet world, it could have been your local community leader, maybe the head of the local church, your local pastor, etc. But there always have been people who have a certain influence within their community, and their word matters, and their recommendation or direction matters to other people around them. So when we all started to be connected via internet and then social media, we just saw kind of like an amplification of this influence because we are now seeing this phenomenon of people becoming influential online. And it's not just, your typical Instagram creator who is unboxing a new skincare product, but it could be an influential person in literally any area of life, from, somebody on like dancing on TikTok to marketing or cybersecurity professional speaking at a convention, and they're influential and people want to hear what they have to say. So influencer marketing is basically partnering with these people who have some actual influence and building a relationship with them and have them endorse and promote your brand to their community, to their following, to their audiences. I feel like recently a lot of people have been using the terms influencer marketing or like influencers and creator economy, creator marketing, creators kind of interchangeably. To me, these are still two separate terms. I feel like you can be a creator, you can be a content creator. Maybe you're great at writing or creating videos, but you do not necessarily have the influence. What we specialize in is influencer marketing. So finding people who actually can move the needle for your brand, people who can actually influence your buyers.
Awesome. Why don't we, that's a good segue into how we actually met way
Mhm.
back many years ago. Apparently, I'm an influencer,
Yeah.
right? So, so we connected many years ago, and I'll probably let you explain,
Yeah.
what your role was back then, how we connected, the company that I still promote, I
Mm.
guess, as an influencer, right? So why don't you very briefly explain how do we connect and, the company that you used to work for and that I still promote today?
Yeah, yeah. Again, as I say, some people, when they hear the term influencer, they think, oh, it's just somebody on Instagram or TikTok. Not necessarily. It can be an influencer in your space. And when it comes to search engine marketing, Chris here is one of the influencers in this space. He has been, I don't know, Chris, for how many years? Like 20 years? Or like since
Nearly
when?
30 years. I've
30
been doing
years now, right?
SEO before Google was called Google. That's how
Yeah.
old I am.
So Chris has been with this industry since the very early start, and not only he has been, building SEO programs for his clients, but he also um, contributed a lot to like the development of the industry as a whole, right? Chris, you're writing blog articles, you're speaking at conventions, you're speaking at webinars. You're hosting like your own webinars
Workshops,
or
trainings, yeah.
podcasts, workshops in person, etc. So you're not just like doing the work, you're also like educating the industry, educating your community on what works, what doesn't work, what are some of the latest tools and tricks people should be using. So that what makes you an influencer, right? When you have some authority in this space, when you have some following in this space, and some trust from the community. So yeah, the way that Chris and I started our relationship was probably one of my very first clients was a company called SE Ranking. They're pretty well known in the SEO space. They're the developers of a platform that helps people uh, optimize their search marketing. So basically, anything from doing a competitor keyword research to a keyword ideation. And I know that now they have like some AI powered
Yeah.
tools, etc. They're very robust. And they were one of my very first clients. So my job was to basically build the influencer program for this tool and find people globally and specifically in the US who would um, become basically the ambassadors of their product and who would educate their communities about this product. So, Chris, you were one of the people that I found back then. And, I probably just found you through some organic search, like
Yeah.
who are the top influencers in SEO or like, and you probably were listed somewhere. So, um, I reached out and we offered you, I think, to just like free access to the platform so that you can check it out, etc. And I know that since then you've been doing some collaboration work with the guys at SC Ranking, creating content together, maybe like taking part in their webinars, etc. So basically, the idea here was for the brand to partner with an influential voice who could become an ambassador for them here in the US market and who could talk about their product to,
Yeah.
to, to other SEO people.
So that was an insanely successful program. So I still promote SE ranking heavily. I also teach part of a master's degree for a university in Europe. So they give my
Mhm.
students free access to the tool. They give us free access to the tool. We don't make money by promoting them, but if anybody wants to try that tool, below in the description field, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link where you can try them. It's a company out of Ukraine, so I try to promote them as much as I can. they've been very good to us. So, it's for years now since you made that introduction, and it's a very mutually beneficial relationship. Love that tool still. And yeah, we do webinars together, speaking engagements, etc. So, um, why should businesses, especially small to mid-sized businesses, even consider influencer marketing as part of their overall digital marketing strategy, right? There's so many things that need to be done. What are the potential benefits of influencer marketing? And like usually how big does a business need to be, or like in terms of investments, what are we looking at?
Well, obviously I am biased. So I've been doing influencer marketing like my whole life probably, and I'm a huge advocate for influencer marketing. So I genuinely believe that absolutely any company must do influencer marketing. It doesn't matter big or small, you have to do it. And if you don't believe me, you can look at some of the largest companies out there in absolutely any area of life, no matter consumer or B2B, they all will have an ambassador program, an affiliate program, an influencer program. So it works, and some of the largest companies out there, they work with hundreds and thousands of influencers every month. So I don't feel like I have to convince, small businesses that they should start it, but I definitely want to tell them, how they can approach it, because I understand that maybe if you're a smaller business, it might feel a little intimidating when, yes, there's like so much on your plate, you have to think of so many things, even like within your digital marketing strategy, like SEO, social media, paid social, organic, creating some like content, video content, etc. And actually, influencers could be a solution for you to actually help you address some of these diverse digital marketing challenges. For example, I know that a lot of brands struggle with content creation. Like, for example, you should have your brand's organic social presence, but your content might not necessarily be great. And your team will waste a lot of time and potentially resources to try to come up with some visuals or videos, and those videos or visuals won't even be seen by anybody because they will get like 3 views and 2 likes. So this is where influencers can help you. You basically can outsource your content creation to somebody who is much better than your brand team at creating content that is actually engaging and feels real and feels authentic. So you can partner with those influencers if you have a physical product or a virtual service, have them test the product, experience the service, create content around it, and then you can repurpose this content on your own social channels. You can boost this content with advertising dollars and get even more exposure. You can have the influencer post on their own profiles about you and get even more exposure because you're tapping into their audiences now. Now, when we're talking about SEO, I strongly believe that influencer marketing should be a kind of like a part of the SEO strategy as well, because you can partner with those bloggers, YouTubers, podcasters, etc., and have them talk about your product and then link back to your website. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an SEO expert here, but I know that a backlink still matters. So
High quality backlink from a relevant
yeah.
website. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
matters.
So the way that I see it is that influencer marketing can serve so many purposes, from reaching new audiences to boosting your own online presence to creating high quality content. And if you don't have the budget to work with a massive influencer, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you can just work with a small creator and have them create high quality content that, as I say, you can reuse across your brand's channels.
Okay, so let's we're gonna put the link to your agency,
Mm,
Mishka.agency,
mm.
below in the description field of the YouTube video. Who do you work with? Like, how much? What's on average? Does that cost? Just don't want to make it a sales pitch, right?
Mhm.
But just who do you want to work with in case somebody wants to reach out to you?
Um, I'll be honest, we typically work with companies that are, kind of like larger. We probably are looking for, a company that would be ready to invest like six figures a year in their influencer programs. And it totally makes sense for a large company. As I say, they work with hundreds of influencers across a variety of channels. And our client portfolio is quite diverse. We work with mobile apps, we work with online subscription services. So, for example, educational platforms where you're paying like a monthly fee for a subscription or some other digital services. Um, we work with several B2B clients as well, where they're trying to, um, their primary goal is to build trusted relationships with the thought leaders in their industry. So we engage those influencers at in-person events, for example, or working on some joint content with those influencers. So yeah, our clientele is pretty diverse.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be honest, if you're a small business where you have like no money, to start an influencer program just yet, I would suggest give it a run in-house first. Maybe just on your own, reach out to a few influencers, maybe send them your product and see how it goes. And then when you see some initial traction, this is where a lot of companies realize, like, oh my God, this is working and we want to scale it now. But sometimes scaling it in-house could be really very labor intensive and not really worth your time. And this is where these companies, come to us as an agency, like, hey, we tested one or two influencers. We really like their results. Can you find us another like 20 or 100 now? So yeah, that's what we do. We help companies scale their programs.
Okay, awesome. So that leads me to my next question.
Mm.
So building on our own connection story with SE ranking, like how crucial are genuine relationships with influencers in achieving long-term impactful results compared to just transactional one-off campaigns? Obviously, we're still connected many years after
Mhm.
we initially get in contact, and we still have an amazing relationship, SE ranking in my business. Like, tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, the true story here is that the world is quite transactional, and nowadays a lot of the influencers, they are approached by dozens of brands. They get really tired of this, and they are like, "Okay, just give me your budget. What do you want from me?" Like, not every influencer would be actually open to a conversation or like open to building a relationship. So, as a brand, you might want to go an extra mile here and be real friendly and be real supportive and show this influencer that you genuinely care and you want to create something very, very special with them. Um, I think it is quite important because at the end of the day, yes, you can pay somebody to talk about your brand. They will do it once and they will never talk about you again. Um, when you manage to show them, that there is like a real team behind your brand, that there are actual people who care, that you are supportive, that you are reliable, that you treat it as a partnership, that you respect the influencer's interests as well, and hear to like their sorry, and you hear their creative direction, you hear their needs. I think this is where an influencer would appreciate you more than like any other brand they work with. And the benefit of this for you is that by establishing this relationship, you really build a longer term um, after effect for your brand where this influencer will literally mention you because they really like you. When they speak at a workshop, at a webinar, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm working with this brand. It's really cool. And their recommendation means a lot. Um, so making them want to endorse you organically, this is like the next level, of influencer marketing, but it definitely takes time to build those relationships. And, not all of them are going to work. And I guess that's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of work, if I'm to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So Mishka Agency focuses on performance-focused influencer marketing, right? Can you talk a little bit about the key metrics you track beyond like vanity metrics, like, likes or follower counts,
Mm-hmm.
to demonstrate real return investment for your clients, especially for potentially B2B or maybe SaaS companies,
Mm-hmm.
or just give us a few examples, please.
Yeah, I guess our performance driven approach starts before we even kick off a campaign. So it really starts with selecting the right influencers for the campaign. And this is where we review a lot of metrics, starting from things like the influencers' demographics, what are the age groups that they're reaching? What is the uh, location breakdown of their audience? How does their engagement look like? Um, if it's somebody who has presence across multiple platforms, we would take a look at performance at each platform from like LinkedIn to X to Instagram story to a live stream on YouTube. We will look at all these metrics to actually understand what a fair rate would be for a certain partnership. And I think this is really important. And this is where like we have a lot of expertise. And this is like the value that we drive for our clients because a lot of brands, when they don't have this history of performance data like we have, they hear a rate from an influencer and they are like, well, I guess that's what we have to pay. We approach this a little more structure in a more structured way where like we actually understand what the fair rate for each location for each kind of engagement should look like. And then, of course, your question was mostly around, how we actually track performance after the campaign. So um, when we um, when we launch a campaign, we always think about tracking in advance. So we would usually for all of our campaigns, we would provide an influencer with a unique URL that they can share, if it's an online video or even if they're like presenting at a convention, they can feature like the brand's URL on the slide in their LinkedIn publication, etc. And then this URL gives you a really robust idea of, at least like how many website visits you generated. And then, based on the goal of the campaign, we generate, oh, sorry, we track lower bottom of the funnel metrics like maybe we were promoting an event. So we're looking at, okay, how many people signed up for this event through that influencer who posted about it. I mean, we might be promoting a certain product, and then we're taking a look at how many people actually purchased the product through the influencers list. So most of our clients are very performance focused, and yeah, they don't care about the views that we generate. We can tell them, oh, the video got 100,000 views. They would not care. They need to see the bottom line, how many actual signups or purchases we generated for their product.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with me. If I get 5 people to my website a month and they all reach out and become clients, that's what I care about,
Mm-hmm.
right? So proof is in the pudding. I always say that, and yeah, especially with you, it's probably a decent investment. So they want to see results directly correlated to your efforts. So AI. At DigiMarcon in Seattle, I had two sessions that I spoke about AI, generative AI, agentic AI.
Hmm.
So AI is impacting every industry. Just briefly, how
Hmm.
does AI impact your industry? How does it impact it? Are you afraid that like an agentic AI tool is going to take over your job?
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about the AI
Yeah.
craziness.
Well, I think I see some really good effects of AI already, and I also see some cases of maybe, people using it not in the smartest way. And maybe let me start with those, like things not to do, things I recommend not doing. I've seen a tool, and I feel like they're just getting started. Maybe they will improve over time, but the version that I've seen was really, really bad, where they basically built a tool, an AI agent for influencer outsourcing, and they would reach out to influencers massively through this AI tool. The message will be not customized, it will be poorly written. It's very obvious that it's AI. When you get this message, you don't even understand, like, what do you want from me? As an influencer, you would be like, what? Like, it would just be like straight, you would mark it as spam. So this is where I feel like um, maybe I'd recommend brands not to rely on AI when you're trying to build a relationship, and maybe still um, stick to old school ways of reaching out to people and being a little more personal, and trying to do some actual research about the person you're trying to reach out to. Now, where I see AI as potentially beneficial for the whole industry, not just for the marketers, but for the influencers themselves, is that all these tools allow us to create content easier, better, sometimes better, not always, of course. But I feel like, creators um, definitely have more tools now to optimize their workflows to deliver better videos. So this looks exciting to me, on like what else can we do with those tools now, and potentially the entry barrier to become a creator, to become an influencer is even lower now, because maybe somebody like me, for example, I don't know how to edit a video. But with an AI tool now, I can basically give it a prompt and end up with a pretty decent looking video. So I feel like more people can now um, create content online, which, I mean, does not necessarily translate into quality of this content, but overall, I think it's a very exciting trend that we will be seeing. Um, yeah, so definitely good and bad. I mean, they're like, I know some people are also talking about AI influencers. Um, I don't know if those will ever replace real people. My personal take is that actually real people, real humans maybe would be appreciated actually even more in the future when we end up having like so many AI. Maybe the actual real human influencer will work best because they will have this actual connection with the
Yeah,
audience.
couldn't agree more. So we're testing all kinds of AI here because we have to, right? It's the reality that we live in. So we've been testing, creating a virtual me using HN, a tool where you can record yourself and then upload content, and it creates a video of it's just like me, talking, etc. And it's not the same right
Mm.
now. So I think I'm just going to invest the time to shoot these videos myself and have real conversations. But, I guess it's too early to tell. We're at the very beginning of this AI
Yeah.
craziness. So we'll see what happens. All right. So talking about content creation, so you also highlight content creation in outreach marketing. How do these services integrate? You already talked about it a little bit with or support your core influencer marketing strategies to create a more holistic approach for clients.
Hmm. This was a very long question.
How do you integrate content creation
Yeah.
into influencer marketing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, you know how at the very beginning I said how I think influencer marketing is kind of like a part of any digital marketing tactic that brands should be running, how it's very much intertwined with SEO. I think it's also very much connected to your content strategy. I don't think you can have a content strategy without influencers now. Um, and there are so many ways that brands can be creative about collaborating with influencers. You can invite influencers to basically take part in content creation on your territory. So maybe you can invite them to a joint live stream or a joint webinar, etc. For B2B, you know, ask them for a quote for your next blog article or for your next research white paper that you're writing. Have the influencer contribute to this piece of content that you're creating. And then also, I think it's pretty important to, when we think about our content marketing strategy, we'll always think about distribution, not just the content creation piece, but also the content distribution. And this is where influencers can help you so much. Let's say, I don't know why today I'm like more inclined to talk about B2B, but if you created a wonderful really valuable research paper that you think the industry could benefit from. Yes, you have your own channels, yeah, like your newsletter or your paid social, but if you partner with some influencers in this space, you can further amplify this message and get more eyeballs on it. So, from content creation to content distribution, I think influencers are very essential to your
Yeah.
content strategy.
So it's a very collaborative effort, right? If one of our clients works with an influencer, they should let us know so that we can collaborate and
Hmm.
brainstorm together. So talking about, what are the biggest challenges and strategies involved in scaling an influencer marketing
Mm.
program? Like, when you work with companies, like, do you have to ask them, hey, are you also doing SEO? Are you doing paid? Or like, what are those challenges, the big
Hmm.
challenges that you're dealing with?
Yeah, well, my biggest recommendation to anybody who is considering an influencer program is yes, think about how this program will be connected to anything else that you're doing within your organization. Make sure your PR team is aware of those efforts. And make sure your brand team is well aware of what kind of influencers you are working with, and maybe even brainstorm together on which influencers are the right fit for your brand. Make sure your legal team is aware of what you're doing with influencers. Um, but yeah, when it comes to scaling, not doing this in a silo is pretty important. To kind of um, make sure those efforts benefit um, all departments and all parts of your company. But then when it comes to challenges of like actually building and scaling an influencer program, um, I would say the biggest one is to maintain the same level of operational excellence um, since when you started. Because when you're just getting started, you're reaching out to maybe one or two influencers. You um, pay a lot of attention to every detail. You really want to like make sure they feel special. They feel good about working with you. But then once you scale, those like one or two conversations turn into 20, 30, 50, or 100. And this is where The biggest risk would be to make a mistake, to maybe miscommunicate something to somebody, to lose track of certain agreements like deadlines, etc. To just make influencers feel like they're not a priority anymore because maybe you're taking too long to respond to somebody, etc. So yeah, missing some crucial detail, like maybe you forget to send them the proper URL because it's literally like hundreds of conversations that you're handling. And here's the thing, every influencer will have unique and very specific questions. They will sometimes be like asking you very specific questions about your product. They will want to test it out really thoroughly and maybe even have you do like a demo session or an introductory call with them to make sure they understand your product. So can you just multiply, those 10 or 20 questions from each influencer by 100, like how many questions and conversations you will need to juggle. And this is the biggest challenge I think that brands are dealing with. um, Obviously, there are platforms right now that can help you kind of streamline your workflows. There's so many software solutions for like managing influencer conversations, etc. I don't say that you just have to do it all just through your inbox. There are plenty of solutions, but it's still a lot of things, a lot of conversations and details to keep track of. And this is the biggest challenge. And yeah, I guess this is why some companies choose to work with an agency because an agency has a lot of processes in place to ensure that nothing slips through the cracks and the campaign is like properly delivered.
Yeah. Man, it sounds like a lot of work, a lot of project management. Well, I got two more questions for you. So beyond the well-known platforms like Instagram, let's say
Mm.
TikTok, YouTube, what are some often overlooked platforms or types of influencers, niche experts, etc., that can be particularly effective for brands? And how do you identify them? I know it's a very broad question, but you
Yeah.
can, yeah.
Um, I think it really comes down to the brand and their goals. There's nothing wrong with working with those traditional platforms. However, if you're like one of our clients is a large B2B company and, we actually did a few TikTok videos for them, but these were definitely not like the top priority for us. For them, we focused mostly on podcasts, influencers who have newsletters, influencers who have big presence on LinkedIn. So yeah, podcasts, newsletters, very interesting channels. There is this platform that has been getting a lot of traction recently, Substack, where I mean,
Yeah.
probably, yeah, everybody's familiar with it now, but it's sort of like an online magazine slash newsletter that you subscribe to. And we have experimented with this platform as well, and we're seeing great results through Substack as well. So I would say for brands that are, um, you know, open to testing various platforms, the right approach would be find the influencer that you think would be the good fit for you and test their primary platform first. So, for example, maybe their primary platform is still YouTube or Instagram. But then when you're seeing some initial success with this influencer, take another look and see what other platforms they are present on. Maybe they have a small podcast, maybe they have a newsletter, maybe they have a Substack, and see how you can add these other channels to the scope of your campaign. And this can be hugely beneficial. Instead of looking for a new influencer where results are not guaranteed, just do more with the one that is already driving results for you.
Awesome. One more question for you. So, looking ahead, what do you believe is the future of influencer marketing in this fast changing world of digital marketing and AI? And how is Mishka Agency preparing for those shifts?
Huh. I think. The future is definitely bright. Influencer marketing is not going anywhere. Influencer marketing is developing, and I'm very pleased to see how this industry has grown and developed, because if we look at the early dawn of like 10 or 15 years ago, there were no processes. Influencers were very unfamiliar with the concept of working with a brand. As a brand, you would reach out to them and they would not understand what you want from them. Right now, I feel like the industry has become much more standardized. There are certain procedures and processes influencers are familiar with now. They understand that there are certain things that the brand requires from them, and it's fine that the brand will provide them with a detailed guideline of things to say, things not to say, and they respect those guidelines. So I think everybody is becoming more and more educated, both the brands and the influencers. Talking about the future, I feel like it probably will get more fragmented. So just because of potentially, all those new platforms emerging, and you can find those communities on Substack, and the influencer won't even have presence like anywhere else. So being a little more strategic in what kind of platform you want to approach, what kind of influencer you want to work with, maybe it will be even more challenging in the future to understand like where do I begin as a brand that is just getting started, because there are just so many platforms now. Um, and also, I think we kind of already touched on this, but I think that the future of a successful, doing influencer marketing successfully in the future would require to really think through like cross channel strategy. And what I mean by that is we see how some of those social media platforms are not prioritizing organic sponsored content anymore. So you can work with a brilliant influencer, and sometimes just because they marked your publication as they're supposed to, as paid partnership to remain compliant with the FTC guidelines, the platform's algorithm, TikTok or Instagram, will not really allow this publication to reach its full viewership potential. And you might want to combine it with your paid media strategy. So thinking about how you make your influencer marketing plan not just like, oh, let's just work with one influencer and have them post something, but rather how do we make use of it across every single channel and maximize the outcomes. I think this is the future of thinking of it in a little more integrated way.
Awesome. Amazing. And quickly, a few rapid fire questions for you,
Mhm.
and you have to answer right
Oh my
away.
God.
Just quickly, are you a wine, beer, cocktails, or no alcohol person?
I'm probably somewhere between wine and no alcohol. I'm drinking a little bit occasionally.
All right, perfect. Cats or dogs?
Cats, cats,
Cats? Okay,
cats.
cool. Interesting. Beach or mountain?
Well, I live in Seattle, so I'm blessed to experience both. We have both, but I guess I would choose beach.
All right, awesome, cool. Well, Yulia, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to record this. Hopefully, we'll get to meet again soon at a
Hmm.
conference. Yeah, and then I'll put the links to the information that we discussed, SE ranking, trial, and Yulia's website, Mishka.agency, below. One last tip, anything, any
Hmm.
words of wisdoms before we wrap this up?
Um, I would say try, experiment, be creative, test. Don't be scared. And here's the thing. As with any other marketing channel, not everything is going to work.
Yeah.
Absolutely any marketer will tell you there are good creatives, bad creatives, but you don't know which one is which before you test them. The same thing with influencers. You have to leave some room for a mistake. And once you make your learnings, you'll be able to scale and build a strong and successful
All
program.
right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Maybe
Thanks.
we'll do this again sometime in the future, and hopefully we'll get to meet again sometime soon at a
Thank you.
conference. All right. Thank you, Yuliya.